everybody, welcome to another episode of For the Love of the Mouse. My name is Crystal and this is our newest installment of our vlog series, and today we're going to talk about planning your Disney vacation. And the first thing we're going to talk about is whether or not to stay on property. That I think is one of the biggest factors in planning your Disney vacation are the pros and cons, whether or not the price is worth it, and that sort of thing. So today I just want to talk to you a little bit about that, especially since my mom and I have been discussing doing a little trip, and it really got me to thinking about all of the things that go into planning a Disney vacation. So first things first, where do you go? I would always, if you have any question about whether or not to book your vacation on property, go to the Disney websites. It's not like with your, when you're doing like planning a flight or something like that where you can kind of use a third party. I really do truly believe that when you're planning a Disney vacation and you are going to stay on property, that your best bet is to go through that Disney website. There are some third party people who can help you with planning that, but you are always going to be sure to get the deals and accurate deals, and you're definitely not going to get gypped by going through the Disney website. So be sure to head over there. Second thing, be sure to download the My Disney Experience app. Now, why should you do this? This is going to be your one-stop shop for everything once your trip is planned. This is going to be where you get your fast passes. This is going to be where you make your dining reservations. This is really going to be an essential asset to making your trip and your family's trip as pain-free and stress-free as possible, and to make sure that you're able to get the most out of your Disney vacation. Now, on our most recent trip to Disney World, we stayed at the Grand Floridian. Now, we've never stayed at the Grand Floridian before, and I have to tell you, it was an incredible experience, and I would absolutely love to be able to stay at the Grand Floridian every time we go to Walt Disney World. But I also think it's really important to be sure to try new things. We did a lot of resort hopping on our most recent trip, and we've now stayed at a couple Disney resorts, considering staying at a new Disney resort if my mom and I do end up going to Disney World. And I think it's really important to experience all of those different resorts. Now, you have the less expensive options, which are really going to be great for if you use your resort as a bed. If you're going to be spending the majority of your time at the parks or at Disney Springs, on the boardwalk, going to and from all of the parks, resort hopping, and just really experiencing everything Disney, you really don't have a need to stay at one of these high-end resorts like the Wilderness Lodge, Polynesian, Contemporary, Grand Floridian, and that is a super simple reason. You're not going to get your money's worth. If you are going to allow yourself to plan some time to go to experience the resort you're staying at, maybe just spend an entire day at the resort, then I think it's definitely worth it to look into those more extravagant resorts. If you're not going to be looking into doing that, I think that you can definitely still stay on property, but maybe choose one of the more moderate resorts. Maybe Pop Century, Art of Imagination, even Caribbean Beach, which is now undergoing refurbishments, which we're going to talk about again in just a second. Those resorts are beautiful. You're still going to get that Disney experience and that Disney touch. And quite honestly, if you have smaller kids and are even looking to maybe just not spend that really pricey amount of money on a hotel, you're still going to get that great Disney resort experience, all of the amenities, and you are going to save yourself a lot of money. Back to what we were just talking about with Caribbean Beach. Caribbean Beach is currently undergoing refurbishments. What does that mean for you? That means you can stay at Caribbean Beach for a smaller price tag. You're going to be able to stay at these resorts that are undergoing refurbishments for a lot less money. So if this is something that doesn't bother you, if you're okay with seeing the green tarps and knowing that the resort that you're staying at is going to have some of that construction noise, I definitely recommend doing this. 2 years ago for my birthday trip, my husband and I stayed at Animal Kingdom. Now, I will tell you, we did it all wrong. We did not experience Animal Kingdom. We did not take advantage of the wonderful amenities in Animal Kingdom. We spent maybe 1 hour just enjoying the resort, and it was incredible. From our room, we stayed in Kidani Village. From our room, we looked out. They were feeding the animals. We got to see the zebras, the giraffes, the okapi, I think I'm saying that right, and several of the other animals on the savannah. We didn't go to any of the food places. We didn't go to Sanaa. We didn't go to Boma, and I really regret that because this is a deluxe resort. You're paying for the experience, so make sure that if you're going to stay at a deluxe resort and you're going to spend that price, that you are going to experience your resort. It's so important, and I feel, honestly, I feel super strongly that if you don't set aside that time, you're really doing yourself a disservice. So, but we stayed at Animal Kingdom Lodge because it was undergoing refurbishments. So we got to stay at Kidani Village for a discount. Now, it wasn't like staying at Pop Century. It was not that big of a discount, but it was still a discount, and it made sense for us because we really wanted to experience it. So that was a really great tip for us, and I feel really comfortable passing that along to you. Caribbean Beach is currently undergoing refurbishments, as I've said. So that is one of the resorts that my mom and I are looking at. Why? Because it's cheaper, and it's not like staying at one of the more, I view them as more child-friendly resorts, which I consider to be the Pop Century and also the All-Star resorts. Are a little bit more kid-friendly. We aren't kids. I'm my mom's kid, obviously, but I'm 34, so we don't really want to experience one of those super family-friendly resorts. We want a little bit more of an adult experience, and I really think the Caribbean Beach gives that to you. Another thing, so when you're looking online and you're scrolling down through all of the different options, be careful because with the price it gives you, make sure you click on that button so you see everything that's included. Because a lot of times when you click on that button, it'll give you the price with maybe a 5-day park hopper. What if you're an annual pass holder and you don't need that 5-day park hopper? Or what if you only want to get a 3-day park pass? So make sure that you're checking that box. There is a box that says ticket only, or I'm sorry, room only, which is what we do because we're annual pass holders. So we would only need the room and we wouldn't need the park hopper tickets, and that brings that price down dramatically. So that's a great tip. Another thing, look on some of these websites or just Google low times at Disney, and you'll be able to find some great times to stay at Disney. I happen to have a week off in March. Thankfully, it is before the spring break rush, which I'm thrilled about. And so if we were able to go, it would be at a little bit less of a cost, and also the resorts are going to be a lot less crowded. For any of you that read our blogs on For the Love of the Mouse, you know that we don't do crowds, and we specifically avoid going to the resorts and going to Walt Disney World if we can at all help it during the busiest parts of the year. To all of you who just experienced Christmas at Disney or are experiencing New Year's at Disney, that's fantastic. But we're just not those people. We're going to typically try to avoid the parks on those days where they're bound to reach capacity. I will say though, we did a 60 hours of Disney trip that maybe you followed along with us on Instagram or on our blog for back during Food and Wine, and Epcot reached capacity on one of the days we were there, and it was packed. But that trip we also stayed at the Dolphin, so that's another vlog for another day. Next up, if you are going to be planning your trip, make sure that you plan, if you're not going to be going to the park on a certain day, or maybe you want to experience other parts of Disney that don't require a park pass. Resort hopping is one of those things that I highly recommend everybody do on their trip. Don't pay for that park pass. That's going to save you quite a bit of money. If you're a large family, and you don't get a park pass for one day, that's going to save you so much money. And there's so many amazing things to do, especially during certain times of the year where you can go experience great things at different resorts. You can go to Disney Springs where you can just do Disney in a whole other way, and some great food at Disney Springs as well. There's just so many things that you can do that don't require a park pass in Disney, that if you're not going to be using that park ticket, be sure to think of that ahead of time. So be sure to plan that into your itinerary so that you aren't spending that money on a park ticket that you don't need to use. Last but not least, renting a car. We Uber. That's that's what we like to do. We're also, typically when we go, it's only my husband and I. So we don't have a large family, we don't have strollers, we don't have any of that stuff to lug around. So if you are able to compactly maybe get your group going and you don't have all of this extra stuff, you don't need the strollers, you don't need the car seats and that sort of thing, I really do think that Ubering or using the minivan service if you're staying on property, which will take you anywhere on property for $20, I do think that that is a great way to go. And if you're careful and you don't get stuck paying the surge pricing, which my husband did one night when we got an Uber from the Contemporaries or after the park closed, it's really going to save you a lot of money, and it might even it's a wash, I think, a lot of it, except that you're not paying that $20 parking fee every day. So I do really think it's going to save you a lot of money to just Uber around. But that's also, typically for us, we'll get up in the morning, we will go to the transportation center or go to our first park, and then we're going to utilize park transportation to get around for the rest of the day for the most part. So we're not taking an Uber to Animal Kingdom, taking an Uber to Epcot, taking an Uber to Disney Springs, taking an Uber to dinner in Orlando, doing all of that stuff. Maybe once in a while we'll do that. If we are going to go to Animal Kingdom, up until our last trip, we had never done a full day at Animal Kingdom. So we would go Uber to Animal Kingdom in the morning, maybe Uber back to the hotel and change or whatever, and then Uber to Epcot at night. So just kind of plan in what exactly your needs are and then look at what that cost might be. You can kind of do some comparisons and see how many trips you're going to be taking and if it would be worth it for you to get that vehicle and maybe be able to store stuff in that vehicle for you and your family, or if you could just rely on transportation or even just take the buses. If you are staying at a monorail resort, you certainly, in my opinion, do not need to rent a car. If you're staying at, say, the Grand Floridian, you take the monorail to Magic Kingdom, take the monorail to Epcot, you can take the monorail to the Polynesian or the Contemporary, you can take a boat to the Polynesian or the Contemporary or Wilderness, and you can Uber to Animal Kingdom or do a minivan to Animal Kingdom and do that. So don't forget that the minivans are $20 and are for property to property. So if you're going Grand Floridian to Disney Springs, if you're going Disney Springs to Beach Club, anything like that, those are going to be a great way to go, especially when those Uber prices are surging. So make sure to check that out as well. How do you do that? On the Disney Experience app. Another great reason to get that app. So there's a quick little post about how to plan your Disney vacation. We'll go into more detail on a future post, so I hope to see you guys then. Happy New Year, and thanks for stopping by. Never forget, for the love of the mouse, it all started with a mouse.